folks, it's time for another Best Trainer of a Type video. And today, it's going to be the dominant and loved dragon typing getting the big spotlight thrown on it. Now, it's pretty funny actually. This is a typing where I could do a top 10, all things considered. But instead, it's just going to be us going over these best trainers and their best teams. And by the end, we'll know just who the best is. Just like with Charizard, Game Freak has loved putting the dragon types in high leverage situations in every generation, with the leader, Elite Four member, or champion considering themselves a master of the typing in every single generation except for the fourth. Yeah, sorry Cynthia, but using a Garchomp sadly doesn't make you a dragon type trainer. As for the rest of the gens though, they're giving us plenty to talk about today. So let's just roll on over to start off this list. So I suppose today we can start off talking about Ryuki, the premier dragon-type expert of Alola. He really hopes to become the dragon-type leader once an actual gym system is set up in the region, which further proves this guy is all about dragons. The team of his that we'll talk about today is the group he brings into a title challenge against you. He uses Drampa, Garchomp, Turtonator, Dragonite, and Kommo-o. I'd say this team is really only missing Salamence. If it had that, it would be like the ultimate lineup of dragon types if you're trying to stay thematic. Garchomp, as we already know, is a standout dragon type, and easily the best mon on this team, with Poison Jab to defend against fairy types, and then of course EQ and Dragon Claw. It's just a great representation of the dragon type. But the main problem, as always, is that this team can easily be dealt with due to how overleveled you can be in the post-game. I feel Ryuki could be a bigger threat with his dragons if you were on a level playing field. But unfortunately, in this case, I think he's honestly one of the easier trainers we'll discuss in this video. Let's stick with an easier trainer here. I'm thinking Drazna in the Kalosian Elite Four. Her team is really not great, being Altaria, Noivern, Dragalge, and Druddigon. Those are not the most threatening Pokemon at all, especially among dragon types. She could have had a Garchomp, a Goodra, maybe even Kingdra or Flygon, but instead, she ends up with one of the worst lineups of Pokemon you can think of among dragons. She doesn't even really deserve to be spoken about in a video looking over the best teams of a typing. But I felt that, for the sake of consistency, it would be right to give her a moment. An Ice-type Pokemon is all you need to absolutely decimate her, as Noivern and Altaria are both a mix of the Dragon and Flying type, and thus extremely weak to the Ice-type. It really does suck that Kalos decided to undercut the Dragon typing a bit with its trainer representative. But honestly, there isn't too terribly much that X and Y does well anyway. Let's move on to the next trainer, another one from the 6th gen. Zinnia and Oras is very much important to the lore of the Delta episode, and a nice part of the new content they put in those remakes. The team I'm looking at here is the one she uses to battle you at the Sky Pillar. She has Goodra, Tyrantrum, Altaria, Noivern, and Salamence. It's another team with a massive ice weakness, and unfortunately, another one where you could just be wildly overleveled and have no issues. Now her Salamence is a Mega, so it can produce some challenge. I have spoken about Mega Salamence a bit in the past on the channel. It's for sure one of the best Megas out there, as it's super fast and ridiculously strong. So if there is anything worth highlighting on the team, it's for sure that. Its stats are next level, and its ability to take physical hits is better than you might think even if your Pokemon are potentially 10 levels stronger. Still though, Zinnia is just not the owner of the best Dragon-type team in the franchise, so we must move on. We can keep it here in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire with the Elite Four rematch against Drake, the Dragon Master. His team is really strong, with everyone being at level 73 or higher. He's got Altaria, Dragalge, Kingdra, Flygon, Haxorus, and Salamence. The Mega, of course. Half of his team is scary, the other half, not as much. Again, much like with Zinnia, it's worth showing some respect to that Mega Salamence. Its strength is immense, and its moveset has some decent coverage. Drake's team on the whole though, definitely is not the best we'll be talking about today. But with the next few we're gonna get into, you'll probably understand why that's not a big deal. So we're gonna keep it very recent here, with quite literally the most recent dragon trainer the games have introduced, Raihan. This guy's whole deal was that he was gonna try to bombard you with weather in battle, And as you take him on in the Champions Tournament, he decides to lean into a Torkoal to help set up the sun for the rest of his dragons to try and take advantage of. You'll also see a Turtonator with Sunny Day, Flygon with Sandstorm, and even a Goodra with Rain Dance. There will be complete chaos during a battle with all this weather going on, though there are counters to it, like having Cloud9 somehow and whatever. His Gigantamax Duraludon, of course, is an intimidating looking beast, but probably nothing to really worry about in the grand scheme of things. The battle just gets annoying if you let the weather get to you. But as is with all the battles prior to this one, having no level cap means it's just not all that bad unless you're trying to go toe-to-toe with similarly leveled Pokemon. Thankfully, for the rest of this video, we're talking about Black and White too, so it'll be a bit more fair. Speaking of, let's go with Drayden's Type Expert team real quick. He's the weakest of the next few trainers, but definitely not much of a pushover. He always has Haxorus on his team. The scariest backup Drayden can have for his Haxorus is definitely Hydreigon and Salamence. That's like a serious lineup of Pokemon. And Salamence rocking out with Tailwind to potentially speed up at least as Hydreigon, and said Hydreigon having choice specs, it's a super interesting battle if you end up needing to face him. The reality is that having an Ice-type move on hand immediately gives you an advantage against Salamence, and he does rely on it somewhat to really push his team over the edge. You can overcome Haxorus without much issue, I think, because even if it does set up with Dragon Dance, if you're running a speedy Pokemon, you can probably still outspeed. As for Hydreigon, that's what I probably worry about the most, as it doesn't need any sort of setup to drill you hard. Like I said, Drayden is the weakest of these four last trainers in my eyes, and doesn't have the best Dragon-type team of all time. But damn if he isn't close. Next up, we have Iris's Challenge Mode Championship rematch. Her Pokemon all have items, are at level 81, and even have a level 83 thrown in. The challenge mode in these Univin games can actually get pretty tough, so making sure you're prepared is incredibly important. They even have 30 in every IV, which can make things all the more challenging. Her team has 3 dragons, in Hydreigon, Salamence, and Haxorus, and then Archeops, Lapras, and Aggron. It's not the most dragon-heavy team as we have seen so far in this video, but it still meets our criteria. So her Hydreigon has the Wise Glasses, which makes its strong special moveset hit even harder. So expect a bit of a problem while trying to deal with it. Salamence has a damn Life Orb, and I can only imagine a Draco Meteor from this thing is gonna be super destructive. As for the Haxorus, it wastes a slot on Guillotine, but D-Dance with Outrage and Earthquake? You're gonna have a hard time if you're not going into this battle disgustingly overleveled. Archeops, of course, hits like a truck with that Flying Gem Acrobatics combo, and Lapras having Sing, I guarantee will get annoying, because it'll make use of that zoom lens. Iris, even in a challenge mode, can be overcome relatively easily if you decide to take her on with level 100s. But if not, she's got one of the best teams a Dragon-type user has ever had in the franchise. However, there are still 2 absolute masters of the typing that have her beat. We will talk first of Johto's Claire, a true queen of this typing. For some people, their favorite Dragon-type user even topping Lance. She has a team of Dragon types that is headlined by her Kingdra and of this group on screen now. The best 2 that she surrounds her ace with are definitely Salamence and Garchomp. I'll tell you what though, if her Dragonite got involved, you'd be just as miserable because it's pretty good too. While there are 2 big ice weaknesses here, her Kingdra can take those hits. It's a Resto Chesto set that allows for some setup with Dragon Dance, and then 2 powerful representations of its typing. If it happens to have Sniper, then combine that with the power of Waterfall as well as its ability to flinch. It's honestly a dangerous lead. But Salamence having the Dragon Gem to supply extra power to Draco Meteor or Outrage is also a one-hit KO waiting to happen. As for Garchomp, it can dunk on you by setting up Swords Dance and just tearing you apart. Now, of course, any of the 3 Pokemon can end up joining Kingdra instead, which really makes this an easier battle. But when it's those 3 in particular, then you're dealing with one of the best Dragon-type teams of all time. But of course, it's not the best. Nope, The best team is Lance's PWT Champions Tournament team. His Dragonite alongside Salamence and Hydreigon are honestly the most intimidating group of dragons of all time. That said, you could factor in any of the other 3 on the team, and you've got a challenge worthy of a champion. Dragonite has wonderful coverage and a priority move. Salamence works Intimidate along with an Expert Belt, so you can really get screwed by its moveset if you've got the unfortunate position of having some type disadvantages. Finally, Hydreigon, with its wonderful 125 special attack, and honestly solid 98 base speed, well, its moveset allows it to get the most out of those stats. The Draco Meteor and the White Herb is very sneaky, and it's easily a move that could get some one-hit KOs. Lance is a scary dude, and as deserving, he has a scary team. When you're not entirely prepared for all 6 of his Pokemon, you're gonna get bodied. Honestly, congrats to the champ. He has the best Dragon-type team of all time, even though I mock him and call him a Flying-type master. Well, that's gonna do it for another entry in this series. The Dragon types gave us practically as much as the Water typing did, and I don't think anyone should be too surprised about Lance taking the title home today. Let me know what you guys think though. Was there a different team that deserved this title over Lance's in Black and White too? I'll be on the lookout, and you be on the lookout as well for the next time we're back talking about these teams, with the Ghost typing getting the next spotlight. I'm looking forward to it, and with that, I'll see you guys then. Welcome back to the outro, folks, your favorite part of the video. Thank you for enjoying another Mystic Umbreon video. We made it through the end of the 8th generation, and now we begin the long trek into late 2022 where Pokemon Scarlet and Violet await us. It's a whole new world we'll live in, but we still gotta catch them all. However, there's still a ton of videos to do and experiences to have until then. If you're interested in more Mystic content, check out my TikTok and the Mystic Umbreon Shorts YouTube channel. If we get the 10K followers on TikTok, I'll be doing a viewer's choice video. If you like Genshin Impact, check out my Genshin channel Tevachinary. So if you all enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. See you next time.